In this video I'm going to show you how to use lights and HDRs. So in this scene that I have one plane and one cube and one 3D model, and as you can see the 3D model is black because it's not being affected by any lights in the scene. So I don't have any lights in the scene right now. So to add a light, we'll go to the identities section, and in the light section we see the ambient light, the directional light, the point light, and other types of lights that might be useful for your experience. I'll drag a directional light, and you can see that the light is here, pointing towards this direction. I will rotate it a bit, okay, like this. And as you can see, the light, as it's pointing towards that direction, you see that the model is now being affected by the lights. So if you go to the lights properties, you can change the color, for example. We can change the intensity a bit more. And you might have noticed that the cube and the plane are not being affected. That's because if you go to the material of the cube and the plane, you see that is using the type flat. This means that it will use the solid color of the mesh. So what I want to do is to make it standard. So we see that the primitives are being affected by the light in this case. So I will adjust the light a bit more, and I will set it as blank again. And to make it feel more natural, we have the shadows properties, all right? The shadows properties in the scenes are turned off by default because of the performance, so be careful with that. And on the scene properties, to enable the shadows, you just toggle this switch, and you see that the shadow is being applied on the objects, okay? Sometimes you might see these little stripes because of the geometries that you use on the models and the primitives. So that's it. That can be fixed if you go to the shadow properties and you increase the quality, for example, of the shadow, and you can see that the shadow quality increased a bit more. Okay, so we can see that there are some better looking shadows. All other lights behave almost the same. Okay, so if I, for example, have a spotlight, for example, I will drag a spotlight here, and I will check it like this. Okay, so you see that the spotlight has this cone here. We can tweak that. Okay, so we can check the distance, for example, to a bit more, and you see that the light is already it's already affecting the whole thing. And you can tweak other parameters like penumbra, the angle itself, so you can play around with all these things. Let me just improve increase the intensity, and you can see that it creates a bit of a spotlight effect. Okay, so I can reduce the distance to, for example, 5 meters, 6. Okay. Yeah. Besides playing with the lights, you can also use an HDR entity. So I have some HDRs in my folder, and for example, if I drag one HDR to the scene, you can see that the HDR completely changes the environment of the scene. So in the HDR properties, so for example, in the HDR properties, I can set the environment intensity. I can reduce them a bit more, so we can still see some effects of the spotlight. You can increase the intensity of the spotlight, or you can play with all the settings. One other detail from the HDR is that we can show the background as visible or only the background. Right now the skybox is this whole skybox that we have here, which has different properties. Okay, so the skybox is different from an HDR. It's just simulating a sky on the scene. You can tweak this as well, these parameters as well, the inclination, so it simulates like a sky with different sun positions, the distance, the turbidity. You can tweak a lot of properties in the skybox as well. But I can hide the skybox, and I can, for example, go to the HDR and show the HDR background. Okay, so it's also possible to do it like that. As we have the background active, we can tweak some properties of the background as well, like the blurriness, the blur. So you can still play around with these properties as well. Also make it as a ground, so it makes the lower part of the HDR, it flattens it to simulate it as a ground, for example, which sometimes makes quite an effect depending on the HDR image that you use. And you can also customize the ground settings, like the ground radius, the ground height. And we also have some other interesting types of lights. I will just, for example, change the color of this spotlight for us to distinguish the other one I'm going to add. And for example, in the lights, we have the volumetric light entity, which is also quite interesting because it's almost like the spotlight, but it has a volumetric part of it. So for example, if I increase the distance, you can see that it has a different kind of way to interact with the place. So if I reduce the angle a bit more, like this, you can see that you can already notice some parts of the volumetric light, and you can see that it's almost like the spotlight, but it has like this fake cone, like let's say like that, to fake the volumetric light. And you can tweak all the other parameters as well, so you can see that you can do some nice effects if you have the talent for that, because I don't. Alright, so I guess that's it. I explained you a brief of the lights, the HDR and the skybox, which are somehow related to the effects and to the visuals of the scene, and I hope you understood it, and see you on the next video.